Welcome back, folks. My name is Joe, and this is Joe's Bad at Video Games, and today we are finally back in Minecraft. After taking a good hiatus, I decided that it was time to start a forever world. That is, a world that I will be playing Minecraft on from now on, at least in the single-player experience. So let's go ahead and jump right in. After gathering my tools and kind of getting myself adjusted, I set out to start exploring, and the very first thing I found was a cherry grove biome, which I'm excited about because as a builder, I love getting as much of a variety of trees and saplings as I can. You also might notice that there are bushes on this hill. I didn't have the tools to correctly harvest them right now, but I am excited to see those, and I'm excited to see what they would do. I spent basically the entire first day chopping down cherry trees, getting some wool, and getting myself a bed, and so I was able to sleep peacefully through the night on our first night. The following morning, I decided to head back towards the hill I spawned on, and that's when I noticed that I actually spawned right next to a pillager outpost. In the past, I have had terrible luck with these, so I decided that it was not wise to linger there. However, I did take it as a good omen, because generally, at least in my experience, when you find a pillager outpost, if you travel about 300 blocks west, you'll find a village. And seeing as I'm just starting this world out, having a village would be a huge boon to getting all of the supplies I need. And I was right. About 300 blocks away, there was a village. So I immediately set about investigating the place, seeing what kind of good loot it had, and deciding how long I was going to set up shop here. After checking it out, I did find some basic crops. I found a little bit of various other kind of useful villagery things, some emeralds and whatnot. And as I ascended the hill, I found this lovely little shack, which I decided this is going to be my base camp, at least for now. While I get all of this set up and squared away, so that way I can go out and adventure and try and find the saplings that I want, and kind of explore what's in this vicinity and maybe find a better location for a base. So after getting all of that set up, I watched the sunset on our second night, and then I went to sleep, and now we are in the third day where I have decided to go down and do some caving. And that's when I found an amethyst geode. I am not very far from the surface here, and this cave is actually quite close to where I am. And so I was quite excited because this means that I can use calcite as one of my building blocks. And calcite is probably my favorite building block when it comes to making houses, mostly because I really enjoy kind of the cottage cob style house with a little bit of wattle and daub with it, which is just, it's kind of the aesthetic that I really like going for. So finding calcite this close to where I'm currently set up shop felt like a good sign to me. While I was digging through that amethyst geode, I started hearing a lot of spiders, so I went to further investigate, and I dug my way right into a spider spawner. So I took a few moments to clear out all of the spiders in there, and after I did, I looted some string, which is great because it means that I could make some bundles. I am a big fan of bundles. They help a lot with the inventory management problems that Minecraft has. After that, I decided I was going to dig up to the surface, so that way I could see just how close I am to that village. And, you know, maybe this village is going to be where we decide to set up shop after all. Terrain can be altered, villages can be rebuilt, so honestly, if this has the resources I want, this might actually just be the place that I set up shop. So I gathered up some iron, I made myself a bunch of tools in this caving. I didn't find any diamonds this trip, though, which was a little unfortunate. My preferred way of ascending from down in the caves is to dig 2 tunnels. That way I can easily send a water column down once I'm back up at the top, as I have an example of here. As we reach the top, of course, I get attacked by a spider. It is nighttime after all. Anyways, after dealing with that, I took a quick look around. Nothing looked familiar, so I decided that I would probably be a good idea to pillar my way up so I could see just how close I am to everything. And once we reached the top there, looking around, I discovered that the village is right there. I then proceeded to slip off of the pillar and nearly die. However, thankfully, my water column caught me. So that was quite lucky on my part. I returned home and decided to get myself geared up because if I am gonna settle in this area, I need to go exploring. I need to get sugarcane. I wanted to get, some of the new blocks and all of this. And while I was recording, at this point, I do believe my son woke up from his nap, and so he was sitting on my lap while I was exploring, and he insisted that I tame a dog. So, of course, I did. And he decided that that one is going to be named Shaggy. I then found the fireflies, and not terribly far to the west, I found yet another village. I decided I would at least stay the night here and maybe check out what they had. It is a bit flatter of an area here, but I kind of like where I set myself up. with the permission of the security guard, I was able to harvest a bunch of hay and then continue on my way, where I discovered a cold taiga biome, which cool spruce trees. That means that I will get spruce wood, which of course is almost everyone's favorite wood. And continuing again in a straight line west, I find yet another village, Spruce Village this time, and this one, this one has some unfortunate generation for sure. I did, however, loot whatever resources I could, including their lanterns, and then we continued on our way. And not far from there, there was an igloo, which I can see that there's no stone dungeon there. I don't know why I checked under the carpet, but I did. After all of that, I continued west further, diving now into a full-on spruce biome that eventually gave way into a giant spruce taiga, if I remember. Yeah, it did. And while running through here, I found myself an azalea tree, which means that I could go down to a lush cave, I could get myself some glowberries, some moss, and whatever other goodies that I wanted from here. So I set about digging my way down, made sure the dog was left up top, and as I did, I found some moss not far down and broke it through, and oh boy, am I glad I stopped digging there, because I would have plummeted to my death and lost everything. There'd be no recovering from that. In this cave, though, I did find my first 2 diamonds. Upon returning to the surface, I discovered yet another dog. This one kind of reminds me of a German Shepherd, which is one of my favorite breeds of dog, so obviously I was going to tame this one as well. And he took every last one of my bones, but he is now part of the crew. At some point, I also had tamed a couple of regular Minecraft wolves. But there's our full crew. I'm going to need names for at least the 3 of them. Shaggy, the one in the middle, is still there. The next day, I decided that I was going to be traveling north this time. I wanted to see what was out there, and the first thing I came across was an ocean. And I burned myself and fell off of my pillar. Thankfully, no one saw that, except you guys. I found myself a birch biome that had the lovely little wildflowers. So I collected a few of those, because you can bone meal those, so they're easy to produce. And I didn't really want to stick around. Birch isn't my favorite biome, but right around the corner, there was a dark oak biome. So I decided that this was going to be a pretty good stop to make. Dark oak is actually probably my favorite wood, so I decided I would chop through it, gather up as many saplings as I could manage without overloading my inventory, and then I spent the night on the beach right outside the dark oak biome. I decided I was going to leave my bed here as I continued further north, and as I did, I found a jungle biome, just right through the dark oak forest, not even terribly far through it. So I wasn't going to look a gift horse in the mouth. I started gathering saplings, I got myself some bamboo, and then I continued going north, almost dying. As I was making my way through the jungle, it was getting dark, I regretted leaving my bed behind me, and that's when I spied a mangrove forest. Right through. This is all like almost a virtual straight line from where I settled. So I've literally got almost everything I need. I got some mangrove propagules, so I could grow my own. I wasn't going to sit here and harvest them in the forest at night. I wanted to get done and out of here, so I grabbed a couple of stacks of mud and then decided that I was going to be on my way out of here. And I went just a little further north just to see, and it turns out there was also an acacia biome, a savanna biome, sorry. So that means that I found my acacia trees as well. At this point, we're doing really good for saplings. I think the only ones that I'm missing are the pale oak and the nether ones. I might be forgetting one. I sometimes do that. And I wasn't going to go looking for a pale oak biome. I did, however, notice next to the jungle there was a sparse jungle, and I love the red wolves, or the rusty wolves, I should say. So I went ahead and tamed one and took all my bones, but I got him. So now we have Rusty to join our crew. If y'all want to comment down below with name suggestions for these wolves, I would love that. I found a few name tags in my journeys, so I'll be able to name at least a few of them. Anyways, Rusty and I made our way back home, and we returned to the rest of the crew. I introduced him to his new brothers and sisters, and they all seemed to get along pretty well. Yeah, that's right, you're all good dogs. Good dogs. And then I proceeded to spend the entire night chopping trees. And I'm going to make you guys watch it. I probably should have turned this into some sort of montage or whatever, but I didn't. And instead, you're just getting me talking about chopping down trees. It takes a long time to gather up a ton of wood, and this is what I did. I gathered up a ton of wood until finally I noticed something next to my land, and that was a giant cave, just like literally right off the edge of where my house is. And I had not explored it, so I wanted to. And I decided to descend my way down, not even that far into it yet, already getting harassed by creepers. And that's, if you'll notice right over there, I found yet another amethyst geode. So this is the third geode in the close proximity of this place. And or I guess this is the second geode. Sorry, I did find a third geode. We'll get there. We'll get to that one. So I found the geode, which I just took this as a sign that this is where I'm going to want to live. So I decided to go down into the cave, gather up a bunch of tuff, and start gathering materials to make my starter house. While I was down in the caves, I went to find some redstone and various other materials, and that's when I found the third amethyst geode. So this one is also not very far from my base, nor from the other amethyst geode. So investigating this one, it is a completely different geode than the one before, and as I was lighting it up, I died. Yeah, that was pretty instant. Thankfully, like I said, it wasn't terribly far, so I was able to run down and gather back up my supplies without losing anything, which was very nice. I don't like losing supplies. I decided to leave out the clip of me digging my basement, but here is the initial layout for the house that I'm planning on building. I generally like to dig out my basement first, and that way I get a good idea of how the layout's going to be. I did trap a few horses down there. They're okay, though. And I decided I was going to go with kind of a mixed floor approach. But instead of describing this one by one, why don't I just turn this one into a music montage for you guys? So here we go. Ta-da! Well, it's not actually finished yet. There's a lot of detailing that still needs to be done, but I had a lot of fun building it, and given that this is the end of about the 8th hour of playing on this world, I feel like this is some pretty good progress. I wasn't playing quickly, I was mostly taking my time, but I did very much enjoy getting an opportunity to start here. I actually quite like this area after exploring it a bit further, and I'm looking forward to transforming the island that this little village is on into a proper kingdom sort of area. I'm not really sure what full aesthetic I'm going for, but let's go ahead and check out the house now. I still need to finish building the tower as well. But in here, we've got the kitchen area, and then I've got another room over here that I have yet to decide what I'm going to do with. And then we've got the entry room, and through here we've got access to the basement, which is where my storage rooms are going to be. And you can see here, nothing suspicious going on. And then upstairs is just one large room right now. Again, there's a lot of detailing that still needs to be done, but I have had a ton of fun with this, and I hope you guys have enjoyed today's journey. I will be back again soon with another episode on this world where we probably finish up this house. Thank you for joining me, and bye-bye.